Heather?
You could.
No, I have not.
Wish I brought my glasses.
So, why so much for one of us?
Oh, yes, wait a minute, she's at the TMRF today. She's with Dylan.
0.
Wow.
Yeah, remember I told you that, she wanted me to go, and I said if I could get to the meeting, I would go. And I couldn't get to, yeah, she's with Dylan. So she will be.
No, I'm just trying to get all my stuff together. Stuff I need to take care of and get done and finished. And
What are you gonna do?
So, let's go.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order and ask you to silence your phone if you haven't done yet. And I always say that because I know one of us up here have forgotten to do it. And at this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Little to offer our invocation tonight.
Let's bow our heads together. Great and mighty God, thank you for a great day, wonderful, beautiful day. This is the day that you've made. Days are your ideas. We have a tendency to judge days by the circumstances we find in them, but every day is a great day because you made it. And so we thank you. Thank you for your blessings, large and small. Help us never to just overlook any of them, but to constantly give you thanks. We thank you for helping us. You were with us. I know that we had some folks in the outlying areas a week ago that suffered some damage, and our community's risen up to help them. We've done what we can, but we thank you for being with us. Thank you for just being with us. And so tonight, would you bless, as we move forward, would you bless everything that takes place? I pray for our city leaders right now that you give them clarity, that you give them tremendous direction in leading this city. And I ask you, Lord, that let everything be done with heavenly guidance tonight, and bless every home in Bowie. May we always recognize you and honor you and bless you. And if we'll do that, you will bless us in return. Thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Little. Okay, we can do that. All right, we're going to look at the agenda and a little out of order. Valerie is here visiting with us tonight to her and Pamela are here to present our audit. So I'd like to move you forward so you can get out of here and get on back home if you would like to. So we're going to go to item new business 8, number 1. Accept the 2020-2021 audit from Mathis Weston Hub Funds. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, please.
Well, thank you for having me tonight. Like the agenda says, we just wrapped up the audit for the September 30th, 2021 fiscal year. And I'm going to kind of go through and hit the highlights with you as I'm talking. Please feel free to stop me and ask questions. You don't need to wait till the end or anything. And just kind of in general, just some general comments to start. You know, we planned and we're about to start the audit right when the finance director position transitioned. Kind of can be a little bit scary. And we were just so impressed with the city finance team, with Pamela and her ability to hop in there and answer questions, even for a year that she hadn't been directly involved in. And what could have been a really tough audit really went well. And we were really impressed with the finance team and with city management in general, that were able to get in there and answer any questions and help us get the audit done. So we appreciate that, and we're really impressed with the team. So with that, I'm going to just go through a couple of numbers and things. And again, just ask me if you have any questions. So I'm going to start here on this bound report. This is the annual financial report. And within this, we have two reports that I'm going to point out. The first one is on page 1. And that is our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. This is where we provide an opinion on the financial statements themselves. It says that we believe the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, which is what we refer to as an unmodified opinion, and what you would want to see and what you would expect, but a good opinion to receive. The other report that we issue, I'm just going to flip to the back, is on page 50, and that's our internal auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. Because the city's audit is done in accordance with government auditing standards, this is an additional required report that we have to issue, and we're required to disclose any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we identify in the course of an audit. And we did have two that we have in here, ones that you've seen in the past. The first one is that there were material audit adjustments, which is really pretty typical for a city this size. There are some very complicating factors about governmental accounting. And so we come in and kind of help do that annual cleanup, that cash to accrual conversion. And so it's not necessarily unexpected. I do know that it's something that we're going to kind of look at and see if we can't get some of those adjustments down so you're not continuing to see this finding. But it's not an uncommon finding. And the second one is over segregation of duties, which is, again, fairly common in a city this size, just because it's hard to staff up enough to have ideal segregation of duties. But we will say that kind of with some of the processes and changes that have happened in this year, we are going to probably reevaluate that one for next year too. We're really impressed with some of the restructuring and things and how the finance department has really come together. So we look forward to kind of reevaluating some of those next year. So those were the two reports that we issued. And then I'm just going to hit some of the numbers quickly. So I'll start with, on page 3 is our management's discussion and analysis. That is kind of a conversational section of the financials. So if you are not used to reading statements, this is a little bit more descriptive, and it is more of a discussion. But it also is the only place where there's comparative financial information, so I like to kind of focus here. If you look on page 5, that table shows the city's net position, which is assets, liabilities, and then the net position, which is the difference between the two. And I'm going to focus on that final total column. So at the end of 2021, the city had $47.6 million in assets versus $38.8 million, so a lot of growth in your assets this year. At the same time, liabilities grew quite a bit, so $17 million versus $8 million. A lot of that growth was in those big Texas Water Development bonds where you have that cash and a liability that were both added to. So that will eventually convert into some nice new sewers, I believe, for the city. And so then the net position overall, which is your assets less your liabilities, was $29.9 million versus $30.2 million at the end of last year. Page 7 then shows your changes in net position, so your revenues, expenses, and ultimate change in net position for the year. Total revenues were $17.5 million versus $16.9 million last year. Expenses were $17.7 million. The biggest jump there is going to be in your electric. As you remember, you'll have to pay that very large bill associated with the February storm, so that is reflected in these financial statements. So just a really odd one-time large expense. And so the change in net position for the city as a whole was $274,000 loss. But most of that is in business type activities. There was a $700,000 loss, and you know that over $1 million of that was kind of a one-time weird payment. So that's what's reflected here. So those are kind of the highlights on the comparative information. Just since I'm up here only once a year, I like to remind you how these financial statements work quickly in case you want to study these after I'm gone. So page 11 starts the basic financials. The first page is the statement of net position. This is the detailed version of the statement that we just briefly went over. But this is the only place where you're going to find all of the city as a whole plus your component units, which is BEDC and the 4B Corporation. Pages 12 and 13 are your statement of activities. And again, this shows the city as a whole and the only place where your component units are included. And this statement starts with your expenses, shows direct revenues, and your change in net position is shown, the third number from the bottom on page 13. So it's kind of a weird statement, but that's how that one works. Page 14 starts your fund statements. So for your governmental funds, these are what we call this, it's almost more like a cash basis. And this is your general fund. The number to watch in your general fund is your unassigned fund balance, which was 1.8 million and has continued to be at a really healthy level. So that's kind of the biggest number that I want to point out on that one. 15 just shows how these two statements reconcile between each other. 16 shows your statement in revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental fund. And again, this is more like a cash basis. So your fund balance in the general fund increased $381,000 for the fiscal year ended 2021. 17 is another reconciliation. And then 18, 19, and 20 are the utility fund statements. So these numbers are gonna be the same as what we briefly discussed in the first statement. They're just in a more detailed and kind of a different format. So there's a little more detail on what's happening in your utility funds. Past that goes to page 21, which is your footnotes, the notes of the financial statements, which just basically describes your accounting policies. There were no changes in your accounting policies. No new policies implemented this year. There is some additional detail on the balances therein. Page 30 shows your capital asset activity, which there was some activity. I know there will be quite a bit more as y'all continue with the big sewer project next year. Page 32 shows a breakout of the component units, fixed assets. And then page 33 goes into a more detailed discussion of your long-term debt. And again, you can see there on page 33, the revenue bonds payable, an increase of 9.7 million this year, and that's that big project. And then you continue to pay off every year. And the only other noteworthy, there's plenty noteworthy, but one more thing to point out. On page 39 is your TMRS pension liability. So the city pays into TMRS every year, and TMRS accumulates assets held in the city's name kind of toward that pension liability. At the end of the measurement date, which is 12/31/2020, the estimated total liability for the pension is 18 million. Had 17.6 million accumulated in assets to help pay that. And so what's recorded as your net pension liability at the end of the year is about 500,000, which is split between the general fund and the utility fund. And really that's just kind of something to watch. It changes a lot with the investments. And the city's part of that is just to continue to pay TMRS rates as they give them to you, which the city has done. And as far as I know, we'll always plan to continue to do. And past that, those are really the highlights that I wanted to hit in this bound report. Does anybody have anything that they want to ask about or look at in more detail?
And yeah, in this packet right here, what is all these adjusting journal entries? There's these like 8 pages of them. What is all this?
Yes, so those are the journal entries that we make when we come in and do the audit.
Okay.
There are certain balances that are just really not adjusted until year end.
Okay.
For example, like accrued salaries, where there's a difference between or an employee might work, September 20th to October 4th and get paid October 8th. Okay. So we accrue that 10-day period that's
Okay.
not paid off. It's paid in their normal cycle. It's just kind of a timing issue. There's some AP. There are AP being accounts payable. And so most of it is kind of these year-end accrual balances where it's kind of moving from a kind of a cash basis during the year that we come in and make sure that everything is on a full accrual basis. And as you can see, there are some of these entries. I'm looking at page 1 of 8. The second one is $675. So they're not, most of them are not huge. It's just when we're in here, we kind of tend to correct them as we go. See, there's depreciation entry to record depreciation for fixed assets. Unbilled receivables is, again, another timing issue where there's utilities that have been used but not yet billed for, so trying to capture that revenue associated with, partial part of that month that's not billed out until October. There's one in here for deferred revenue. So governmental accounting requires that if you receive money that's not spent yet, that's deferred in 1 year, and the revenue is recognized when you spend it. And then there's also some additional rules on when that can be recognized in the general fund. So again, that's kind of a timing of that revenue recognition. Yeah, there's more of the accounts payable. Ambulance billings, was another one, and that's again to correct the, ambulance receivable at the end of the year and make sure that the allowance and bad debt are where they need to be. I'm kind of trying to hit the biggest ones. There's another unearned revenue in here, regarding the American Rescue Plan Act. So the city received $633,000 from that American Rescue Plan Act that it's not been spent yet. So, we just made an adjustment to have it be in a liability account until the city spends it, so that the revenue will be recognized at the same time as the expense. Compensated absences, so that's an adjustment to accrue for, paid time off that's been earned but not used, which will be paid out at the end of the year. So basically various things. Is that
Okay.
kind of,
Yeah, I was curious, because I've never seen that before in your previous audits. I was just curious about it.
oh, I mean, it should be attached, so if you haven't seen it before, that would
Yeah.
be that the attachment was missing, so.
Okay.
But yeah, this is not, this is pretty typical.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can send, I mean, we
No,
can
no,
make
no,
sure
that's
you,
fine,
okay.
that's fine. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
I've slept since then, probably. I've slept since then. But thank you.
Well, I had a question before you started, but you answered it right off the bat with, I wanted to know where our $1.3 million payment was for the electricity, but you showed that right off the bat.
It's
so,
right in there, yep, it's hard to miss.
Yeah, but I did. Anybody got any questions for Valerie?
That was super easy.
All right.
Thank you very much
Thank
for the
y'all.
presentation.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
only problem about going burst like this is you're gonna have to look at the sun all the way back to Wichita.
I'm actually headed to Fort Worth today, unusually, so it's a little better, I guess.
There you go.
All right, thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Okay, so you take the vote. Because I'm so out of order right now because of, yeah, you take the vote.
Okay, so y'all, we have to vote on this, so somebody wants to entertain a motion and a second to pass the audit for 2021.
I'll make the motion to accept the audit from Mathis, West, and Funds.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, Heffley,
Aye.
Gunner,
Aye.
Love,
Aye.
Bates. And that's it. So that passes.
Paperwork was out of order. All right, so let's move on to items of community interest. Does anybody have anything they would like to report? If not, I'm going to say, I hope that everybody's good from the tornado. And, bad weather's coming again this week, so please keep your head above water and pay attention to what's going on. And, I will pass on the agenda to the city manager for your report.
Item of community interest, if you didn't get an opportunity to go out to the car show, you missed something. I've never seen so many cars, and people couldn't stir them with a stick, so that was very entertaining, so. And I think Kirk was the one that said it, after the car show was over with, they lined up at all the community restaurants and ate here, so they spent a little tax money here too, so we appreciate that. On with my report. As all of you know, we had another tornado last Monday afternoon, but we pretty much dodged the bullet this time. We had a little damage, but not like before. A building at our sewer plant was pretty much destroyed, as well as some trees that blew down on the fence and the gate. The water and sewer guys, along with Clyde's guys, made short work of the trees. We also had some damage at the airport, which was mainly the doors on some hangars, and they were blown off their hinges and fittings, so, but they have been mostly repaired. During the storm, one of our ambulances was in an accident. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the ambulance was a total loss as far as I know. Doug, is that still the case?
As far as I know.
Okay. We've started the insurance process on the ambulance, but we've definitely started on the other stuff, so. But anyway, those were all covered by insurance, and, so that should cover us on that. Out on Highway 101, we had some lines down, and our electric department spent the rest of the week making repairs, along with personnel from the street department. We've tried to help people in the county that had damage. We have had a donation center at the community center giving out food, water, and necessities, including clothing. The donation center was open on Tuesday and will also be open this week. I got a call from Mike Smith, who is the city manager in Jacksboro, asking about our experiences with the tornado, and I told him how we handled several items, and he said, that's gonna be expensive, and I said, bite the bullet, because it's expensive to have a tornado, but anyway, he understood that. And I asked him, is there any way we could help, and he asked for one of our guys to residential electrical connection so that Encore would reconnect homes with power. Encore has this weird deal of where you go get ready to inspect, and you have to call Encore and you get a number, and then you do the inspection and you call Encore, and, or you give it the cleared inspection to the homeowner, and then they have to call Encore and ask them to connect their home. It's a very tedious process, and they can't get homes connected like, that's one of the benefits of having an electric system like we do. When people were down, we inspected them, and just as soon as it passed, boy, we had their power back on and stuff, and there's a lot of benefit having your own system like that. But anyway, Jay spent Thursday and Friday over there, and he also went back today because they're still hurting over there, and I don't mind having him over there to be a good neighbor. We had the Red Cross disaster team here at the building Friday and Saturday, and then they were also here today. And the main thing I need to say is kudos to our EOC team and the volunteers. They were on top of the tornado as it made its way to the Bowie area, gave us plenty of warning. We have great personnel here at the city. Everyone did their job and did more than was expected of them. I hate it, but we have begun to get a reputation of how to deal with tornadoes. That's a bad reputation to have, but anyway, I've answered several calls from people, how you do this, how do you do that, so all I can say is this is how we did it. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but that's how we did it. I'd like to remind everyone we will have a bid opening on the south side sewer line on Ussery Street on Thursday here at City Hall at 1 p.m. You're more than welcome to attend. Pamela and I have been doing analysis on the budget and comparing this year to previous 5 years. Like last year, revenues are down slightly, but expenses are also down. So all in all, we're doing very well. I expect as we come into the spring and summer, both revenue and expenses will increase just like they have in the past. So we're doing okay financially. I think Pamela would agree with at least you better.
We'll take your side, don't worry about it.
You'll have your chance next week because I'm going to be on vacation April the 4th through the 8th. If you need me, give me a call, and I'll try to call you back, but we probably won't have any phone service, especially during the day, so don't expect a call back. And I refuse, I just demand that y'all don't have a tornado this time while I'm gone, so. That's it. Anybody got any questions?
Okay, no questions for Bert. Let's move on to the consent agenda items. Your minutes is presented to you along with the write-offs for the library dues and the utility accounts. And I would entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Love, do I have a second? A second. Ms. Bates? Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates? Aye. And Love?
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the discussion of the credit card fees.
Bert has an update for
Well-
you on that.
Basically, what the update is Pam and I figuratively put our heads together, and she did most of the work, and I just listened to her, which is a smart thing to do. She's pretty bright, but we compared both certified payments and our system that we have now, and it was pretty much a wash. You know, some things on this one's better, some things on this one's better, but we've determined that the recommendation we have is that we stick with our system we have now. Go ahead and let y'all vote on the ordinance, get it passed, with 5%. We're gonna watch it very closely. If it does pass, if we see that we're collecting more money than we should, I want the authority from y'all to lower, we can't go any higher than 5%, so that there's not gonna be that judgment. Lower it, if we see that we're collecting more than we should, based on my very fragmented calculation, because you can't really tell. You just kind of have some pretty good estimates, of what it's costing us, and the percentage of people that are using credit cards now versus if we institute these fees, to do it, I would think it would probably still stay the same amount. It's 65 to 70% of our utility bills are paid by credit cards. So, given that, our recommendation is to go ahead and pass this ordinance and, stay with what we've got. There's the problem is if we go with certified payments, which is gonna be about the same, the certified payments, we'll have to retrain our people. And with what we're using now, we won't have to retrain people, so.
Seems high.
Okay, so
5% seems high.
there's been a couple of questions about that, and I've asked Pamela if she will tell you what she has determined the cost that we're paying now. So would you mind going to the podium? I'm sorry, but the audience can't hear you on our video.
Sandy explained that last time. Okay. Evening, Mayor and City Council. Bert and I looked through this in detail, your city manager, and there was 2 places that we did go. The reason why he was absolutely correct was we don't have to train our staff, and they're going through so many changes. As you've seen the audit, we've both been working very hard on reducing some of those, what I call dings, on segregation of duty. There's been a lot of changes, so we decided to stay with that one. It's not only our staff per se, it's also our citizens. They go online and pay. And we didn't want to handle and field the calls on retraining all our citizens on how to pay online. Same program. What we researched so far was we start out at 2.4% per transaction all the way up to 5% depending on the card use. There is also a monthly fee anywhere from $35 to $125. There are yearly fees also attached to that by having the certified payments program, and or global is what we have currently. So that was our research. If you roll that all in, that's where you're getting the $92,000 that we pay out roughly per year, what is budgeted. We hope we don't go over, but we might, the way it is looking. So did I answer all your questions?
So it looks like, just like any of us that have been in business, it looks like it depends on the credit card
Correct,
that determines.
correct. There's certain ones that cost a little bit higher in percentage to use.
So that would be American Express or
Correct,
Discover, what,
you're correct.
So how much higher would one credit card over another one be?
Like I said, anywhere from 2.5 to 5%, or 2.4, excuse me.
So she uses, Visa and I use, what is another credit card? I only have Visa. MasterCard.
That is just what they charge us to use to service our program.
So
We're not
basically,
asking for any more.
So who's,
so what we're doing is charging a flat fee to everyone. We're not gonna figure out what each one of them is.
That's correct.
We're gonna charge a
That's-
flat fee to everyone.
that's
Well, I don't
correct.
want to charge the people more because if you are using American Express versus if you're going to use a Visa or MasterCard, to me, What I'd rather do right now is look at this and say, okay, I'm not against having a processing fee at all. I think 5% is too much. I would rather start lower and then review it a little bit later and see where we were at that point, maybe at the point of 3% instead of 5%. That's where I think
But we
that,
also need to remember that this is not, we're not twisting people's arm to pay with a credit card. This is
I understand
actually a
that.
convenience for people that,
That's what it is.
I mean, I
but
paid
also
mine
the
with a
city's
check.
getting their money, a lot of times
Yeah.
with people, they're getting their money, we're getting our money quicker by receiving a credit card, that sometimes where people may not necessarily have the money at that time to pay with a checking account. I mean, I've asked a few people about it, you know,
Right,
to
and
see.
but I see it as a convenience charge. I mean, if they're gonna use a credit card, because everywhere you go, it doesn't matter if you're buying a pair of pants or a hamburger, they're not charging you for that 3% or 5%, but they're putting that into the cost of the goods. They're getting their money out of it. You might not know you're paying for it, but you are paying for it.
Right, I understand,
So,
I mean,
no,
I
that's what
understand
I'm
the
saying.
process, but to me right now, because we really don't know exactly
Right.
what, so to me, I don't want to start high and have to work our way down. I'd rather start at 3% and work our way up if we feel like that's what we have to do.
Right.
But that's my own opinion.
Well, I mean,
Based on everything we see, it's closer to 5% than it is 3%. And the thing about doing the ordinance, and Pam and I have discussed this, is if we do it ourselves, we are in total control of it. If we
Right.
have a company that does it, we have no control. I mean, that's just.
I don't want to use a
charge, and that's
certified
it.
company. I don't want to do that. I
They're
just,
gonna make money off of it.
And I
Yeah.
can, you know, and
'Cause we're
we
just
can, we'll know it pretty much at the end of each month, you know, if we're collecting too much or not enough or whatever. And we can tweak it, you know, given this ordinance, I can lower that percentage. But I'd rather start at 5 and then come down, because it's gonna make people happier when we find out that we're going down. But it covers our cost, is what it does. We're not making any money out, we're covering our.
understand. I don't agree that we're going to make people happy for going down. I think if we found out what it was actually costing us, they'd be happy if they knew that, say, hey, we got to go up because we're not making enough money to do that. So
Well,
therefore,
one thing we can do, we could do it at 5%, see if our credit card payments stay the same. If it does, then people don't mind paying the charge. You see what I'm saying? Then they don't mind paying it. And then we can adjust the price then if we have to.
we're not really giving them a choice.
Well, we are giving them a choice.
I mean,
If
it's
they don't wanna pay the 5%
certain
surcharge.
people were given a choice,
Well,
but we're not
no.
giving everybody a choice.
Well, I mean, you're giving them a choice. They have a choice to pay cash, check, or credit card. There is a choice. There's 3 different options. They don't have to pay a credit card. And when people pay a credit card, they need to understand that there is gonna be a fee associated with that.
I understand that, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to pass a fee on to it right now. I just don't want to pass on 5%. I think that's too much.
So if you had an $800 bill times 5% is what?
What's the general,
$40.
what's their general electric bill? Just run of the mill,
Average bill, $250.
So that's, what, $12 at 5%?
I get it,
$12.
I get it,
No, I'm just
Jason.
saying,
I get it.
I know. I
I'm
just
just-
don't have a problem with the 5%, and then maybe we can go down from there. I would hate to start it at 3 and then go up on people, because that's.
Well, to me, I would rather charge whatever we're getting charged. You know, if you could figure out what the actual charge was, that's what I'd like to do. Just say, we're simply passing on the charge what we have.
I agree with you. I want to charge what we're getting charged, but how do we do that if we're getting charged between 2.4 and 5?
And plus your monthly and yearly cost to have the program in place.
It
Well,
won't
didn't you
take
say it was
very,
$35 a month? Is that per transaction or for the whole thing?
That is just to have the program in place.
I know, but,
$35 and then there's a $15 fee. It escalates.
I know, but per what? 35 and 15, are you talking about a monthly fee?
Correct.
And how many payments are you taking?
That's open-ended. You can take payments.
No. What I'm saying is, we're getting charged $35 a month for, so you're looking, I mean, for how many payments do we take a month?
That's open-ended. How many
no,
payments?
he's asking you, how many credit card payments do we receive?
We take 100 credit cards.
I know, but $35 is not very much to take a.
That's just for one fee, and
Yeah.
then plus the 2.5 and the 5%
I'm-
and the yearly cost. There's a lot of different avenues with
I wish you could tell me what those costs were. You know, is it $35 and the other fees variable? I mean, is it the same every month?
We'll open our books to you and let you go do the audit to figure out where everything's coming from, but that's an impossibility of figuring that out. I mean,
Okay.
you'd have to spend every day, looking at each deal and know what the percentage of the card they gave, you know, that card, whether it came in on the internet or whether it came in, you know, at the front desk. Because when somebody pays online, we get a fee for that plus a percentage. So it's really difficult to tell exactly what is what.
I apologize, there, and Bert just triggered my brain, there is a $1.50 charge per encode for each transaction that runs through our accounting software online.
So if we pay online, then it's a minimum of $1.50.
That's correct.
Yeah, certified payments is gonna get, they're gonna make money
No,
off of it.
this
for
is
sure.
through us.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if we did certified payments, they're gonna make money off of it.
I don't want to do certified
No,
payments.
I don't either.
I mean, I'm not even, that isn't even one of my.
No. I'm saying, but if we did it like through in-house, essentially how we're doing it, I mean, I would rather, Terry, what I'm saying is, I'd rather start at 5, and if we go down, that's better. If we start at 3 or 2, then we have to go back up and say, oh, well, you know, we gotta go up some more, that's gonna be.
Well, Pam, when we talked earlier, didn't you say though, that it was possibly that it was just around 4% was kind of the cost when we were talking?
Depending on the usage, yes.
Okay, I mean, okay. To me then, if that's the case where you've had looked at that, instead of charge 5%, let's just charge 4%, so if that's what we think we're being charged. You know, and then we can relook at that. If later on, if we're not getting enough money, then we'll do something different.
That possibly would cover what the credit card fees are charging us for all the other different type of credit cards. But maybe the 4%, maybe we do need the 5% to cover the $1.50 off of the webpage and so forth that we have to use to go through our accounting software, which is Encode.
And y'all are figuring this in as a zero profit, is that correct? This is just
That's what
covering,
we're trying to
okay,
accomplish, but it's a moving target.
Yes, ma'am.
As city manager said.
yes, ma'am, okay.
Christie asked me, a pretty good question today. She said, I've talked to other people in other communities and their fees are not near as much. And I said, those other communities you probably talked to don't have electric bills. And which greatly increases, you know, what we're collecting for the citizens versus, another community the same size. That electric really increases the percentage that we're having to pay in. So, and when I explained that to her, I think she understood what I was saying is we bill higher because we bill more. We bill water, sewer, electric, garbage, and a lot of communities just bill water and sewer. So, or water, sewer, and garbage, but that electric is always the biggest percentage of it, and that's why it sounds higher, so.
So right now, we have an ordinance. I'm just gonna go ahead and read the top of this to y'all. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bowie, Texas, authorizing the acceptance of payment for utility bill charges and fees by credit card, establishing a processing fee to be collected at the point of sale for the use of a credit card to pay utility bill charges and fees, providing for the collection of a service charge if, for any reason, a payment by credit card is not honored by the credit card company on which funds are drawn, providing penalty clause, effective date, and providing for the publication of the caption hereof. It also goes on to read that the processing credit card payment not to exceed 5% of the amount of the fee, fine, cost, or court. So it is maxed out, as Bert told you, at 5%. It does say not to exceed, so he can come back to you with, I would say in 60 days, you should be able to give us some kind of update as to whether or not we're meeting or we're over.
We'll work very hard at that.
Okay. So if we can approve something tonight, whatever y'all want to approve, if we can come back in 60 days, that should give you some kind of comfort zone.
We're not gonna institute this until the 1st of June.
Okay, 60 days after that then.
Yeah.
So if we do an audit within 60 days after the 1st of June, you guys can come back and give us more of a baseline number we can go off of?
That's correct.
Okay.
What we're collecting and what it
Well, I have a question then. If we're not gonna do it until June, why can't we look and see what that percent charge would be right now? Because if it's a flat across.
We know
the-
what the charges are, we just can't get very specific about this card, that card, how many of this card, how many of that
I know, but you're
card.
gonna charge 5%.
We can't break it down the way you're thinking.
But we can overall funds,
Yeah.
and that's what I think that, Councilman Love was asking.
Well, I'm just saying right now, we kinda got an average of right now what we're collecting, right? Monthly on our fees.
Right now, we're at 47,000, and we've only went through 4 months.
Okay,
That's a lot of money lost. I mean,
I
that's-
understand that, but I mean, can you kinda tell what we did in January, what we did in February, what we did in March, what we did in April?
Our bill runs us around 10,000, close to 11,000 a month.
Okay,
I thought it was 12,000 last month.
Well, months vary depending on the usage.
Be a lot higher in August.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'll make a motion to pass this presented
Wait,
with,
wait.
with an audit.
Okay, so Council Love wants to make a motion to pass the ordinance 2022-01 as presented.
Yes, ma'am.
And reevaluate it in 60 days?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I'll be reevaluating every day that I can, so y'all know that.
Okay, so Bates, did you second it? With an evaluation in 60 days.
Right.
Presented evaluation, okay.
And at that time, we can go to the 4%?
Can't go higher. We
Can't
can just
go
go
higher?
up.
yeah.
You can't
We're
go,
not
it
going
can't go higher.
We're not going higher.
Let's take a vote on this. Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Nope.
Love?
Right.
I will work very hard to get you the numbers that you want to see, Terry.
Okay.
Because I think we'll be able to see something, and we're definitely, if we're too high, we'll make the adjustments.
Okay. I mean, I'm not asking the council to take it personal, just the way I feel,
Oh, no.
okay?
No,
So it's-
absolutely.
That's okay.
I don't want to increase rates in order to cover that like most retail does, because that'd be a terrible issue.
Yeah.
I hope after 30 days that I could come back and say, guys, we need to lower this to 4%, and we need to lower it 3%. But if we're gonna recover the money we've been spending every year, you know, this is the best way to do it. I'd rather come back and lower it than come back and raise it.
I have no problem with us breaking even on it at all. I mean, everybody else is breaking even, so, I mean, $100,000, we can fix some stuff with that, so,
Just wanna
Okay.
make sure it's not a moneymaker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have already done number 8, so we're now going to move over to consider the recommendation of P and Z request from Jason and Miranda Ewing to replat lots 62 and 63 Woodlands Estates, commonly known as 812 Woodland North Trail, creating lot 62R Woodlands Estates. You have those plats in your packet. Mr. Kell, oh, you're already there.
Yes, ma'am.
You're being sneaky.
Yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission met on March 17th. We had a quorum, and we moved on item number 1 to approve that. It's a replatting of the 2 lots that are used, and so they're trying to use them in a continuous way, and by having separate lots, then those lot easements and setbacks all affect that. So to be able to use it, make it all one lot, so it's creating lot 62R. And so that's that one. You can do these individually,
Yes, sir, we have
correct?
to do them individually. I know you know where this lot is, don't you, Jason? It's across the street from your parents'
So
house.
I know they bought the property, the 63,
Yes,
and then they later acquired 62, is that correct?
I believe that's how it
Okay, so you're
went.
just making it all one?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Makes it easier for construction.
Yeah, I think it's that little angle piece where that creek goes over there is
Yeah.
what they did,
Yes,
so.
sir. Okay.
It is, so.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
I'll
You
second
don't,
that.
you don't even, y'all don't even give me a chance to read this for the record. I have to read this for the
Where
record.
are you headed?
Consider recommendation P and Z on the request from Scott, nope, that's the wrong one. Never mind.
It's not that one.
Yeah,
I'm approving.
Jason and Miranda Ewing, lots, replat lots 62 and 63 Woodlands Estate, commonly known as 812 Woodland Trail, creating lot 62R in Woodlands Estate. So I have a motion from Gunner, and I have a second from
Me.
Love,
Mhm.
Heffley,
Aye.
Bates, Gunner,
Aye.
and Love.
Aye.
You may proceed.
Okay, item number 2, that request from Scott Marburger to replat part of Lot 3, 4, 13, and 14, Block 3, Lemmings Edition, commonly known as 407 Decatur Street, creating Lot 3R and Lot 14R, Block 3, Lemmings Edition. And again, this is, to put the lots together, make the bigger lot, and make it so that they can use all of those pieces.
Still not very big when it's finished, is it?
They're very narrow lots, and of course, the one is accessible there on Campbell Street, which, if you don't know where that is, it's up by the railroad, parallel to Decatur Street.
Okay. Everybody understand where it is, what it is?
Just reconglomerate it.
Yes, I will.
Cut and dry. So moved.
Like to consider recommendation from the P and Z on the request for Scott Malbarger to replat part of Lot 3, 4, 13, and 14, Block 3, Lemmings Edition, commonly known as 407 Decatur Street, creating Lot 3R and Lot 14R, Block 3, Lemmings Edition. I would entertain a motion to accept the P and Z's recommendation.
So moved.
Heffley, do I have a second? Bates. Gunner,
Aye.
Love,
Aye.
Heffley,
Aye.
and Bates.
All right. City Council, the third item was a request from Kenson Vance, Dynamic Duo, to replat Block 15, Hill Country School Land Survey, and lots 5 and 7 of Brown Edition, commonly known as 316 East Wilbarger Street and 405 South Mill Street, creating Lot 1, Dynamic Edition, Lot 5R, Brown Edition, and Lot 7R, Brown Edition. And this is property that's in behind a whole lot of dwellings that are there right now. And you can see from your map that they've made it into 3 very, very large pieces of property is what he's asking to do. And so there's going to be entrance to 2 of them from East Wilbarger Street with that diagonal separating them, but it makes the Lot 5R and 7R. And then the other is from Mill Street, which already was the entrance to the property, and that makes that Lot 1 that they're after. And we did approve this as well.
So that the council will know, the Dynamic Duo has built a new home on the Mill Street side.
I believe so.
They built a new home on the Wilbarger Street side, and then part of that is a home that they bought and remodeled, so that they're all basically new homes, so.
And the lot sizes are odd.
No tiny homes over there.
No, they're the concrete houses. And the reason the lot sizes are the way they are is because he made them large enough for horses.
Yes.
The entrance to the center, I can't pull it up for some reason, but the entrance to the center one is from Wilbarger?
Wilbarger, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's just an entrance. That's the reason why it has an odd shape to it.
Oh, there's a house.
There's a
Yeah,
house
they're
there.
odd shaped.
They bought a house and redid it in the middle, and then the one furthest one on Wilbarger and the one on Mill Street are his new concrete houses.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
But they made it that way, Mr. Love, so that they could have the more than 1 acre, so
Yes,
they
ma'am.
could
Yes, sir.
have horses on it.
Yeah, I know.
So let's, consider the recommendation from P and Z on the request from Kinson Vance DBA Dynamic Duo to replat block 15 Hill County School Land Survey and lots 5 and 7 of block addition commonly known as 316 East Wilbarger Street and 405 South Mill Street. Dynamic addition and lot 5R Brown addition and lot 7R Brown addition. I would entertain a motion to accept this recommendation.
So moved.
Mr. Love, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Heffley? Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Bates?
Thank you, Mr. Calvaroto. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, glad to serve.
Total chaos here. Okay, last item on the agenda is to approve the Selma Park host contract. Do you want to speak?
I can, I just, on that position, I raised it up in the budget. Fred's wants, he's part-time, no benefits, no nothing, contract labor, I'm sorry. And, I just raised that position from 9,500 to 10,000 in the budget, it's in the budget. And he's done a good job, but since I changed the contract, it's gotta be approved again.
He has done a good job. I've been very happy with him, and he loves being out there, and so far the people that go out there at the park love having him out there.
Yeah,
And he works all the time.
If you approve it, he goes to work.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the new contract for the park host.
So moved.
Same thing, except for the money.
Yeah. I don't have a,
I'll make the motion.
do I need his name? No, I don't. I was looking for.
Do we know, what's the guy's name?
It's Fred Espinoza.
Well, I'll make a motion that we do
I don't
approve
have a-
Fred Espinosa.
You're gonna have to talk about it.
You already got a motion over here.
Well, I was before him. I so moved it before he did, but that's okay. So you just go ahead and take that from him all you want to, but that ain't how it went down.
He's got it.
I just think people need to know that they get the
Okay,
gentleman's name.
so Terry makes a motion, Mr. Gunner makes a motion to approve the contract. Mr. Love seconds it.
That's perfect.
Bates?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Gunner?
Certainly doesn't want you two arguing.
Nope. Not going to.
All right, then, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna adjourn this meeting. No, why am I not? Oh, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to make public comments? Now I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:52. Oh, wait, it's 6:52.